Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel, your bro Nate Reacts. Today we're going to be reacting to Devil's Breath, the world's scariest drug. I never did drugs before and I don't never want to. It's something that I would never want to try, I would never want to do. I might end up like Scooby-Doo, I don't know. What's that mystery? I don't know.
Business. We've all heard some gruesome tabloid stories of tweakers with cheap handguns shooting up a liquor store for 20 bucks and a fistful of change. Or maybe the knockout mugger, arrested after a string of robberies and assaults, going to jail for a half-decade for money a white-collar criminal triples at.
Dang bro, going to jail for a half decade? Wait, is that fit 5 years? Decade, 10 years? 15? Dang bro, I forgot. Shit, it's been so long.
An hour. These things happen so often in the US that they barely even make the news anymore, and often end up ruining the lives of both the victim and the perpetrator. But let's see how a Colombian pro does it without even needing to carry a weapon. A pro like Demencia Black, the street name of a Bogota drug dealer interviewed by Vice in 2012. Demencia doesn't need to carry a gun or a knife because he's packing something even more deadly, a fistful of devil's breath, a chemical.
Bro, Devil's Breath. Let's see what Devil's Breath is. It's gonna give us an example. It's gonna give us like some points of what it is.
Compound dubbed the world's scariest drug by many, and today you're going to find out why it's earned such a terrifying reputation. Let's say Demencia wants to rob a man for all he's worth. He'll spot his target, perhaps a businessman boozing at a local nightclub without a care in the world. The kind of guy with a Swiss watch and a platinum American Express card, both of which he loves to flaunt. When nobody's looking, Demencia will stroll toward his target with a smile, wearing a casual t-shirt and shorts. Hardly the most intimidating outfit for a hardened criminal, but you don't need to look scary when you have the devil's breath on your side.
Bro, I think it's that stuff where you blow out your hand, like blowing them a kiss or something, and then they instantly like do whatever you want them to do. Like, it's a scary drug. It's actually a mind control.
It's a fine, white powder similar to cocaine in appearance, but its effects are an order of magnitude more potent. Demencia taps his mark on the shoulder, and when the yuppie turns to him, Demencia raises his hand, a scoop of devil's breath nestled in his palm, and blows it into the victim's face. By this point, it's already over. In Demencia's own words from the aforementioned Vice documentary, with just that flash, the person is totally drugged. You wait a minute, and when you see it kick in,
Oh my god.
knife because he's packing something even more. Find out why it's earned such a terrifying reputation. Let's say Demencia wants to rob a man for all he.
Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel, your bro Nate Reacts. Today we're gonna be reacting to Devil's Breath, the world's scariest drug. It's a drug where if you like blow it in someone's eyes, like they instantly like do whatever you want them to do. Like, it's like a mind control drug basically.
He's worth. He'll spot his target, perhaps a businessman boozing at a local nightclub without a care in the world. The kind of guy with a Swiss watch and a platinum American Express card, both of which he loves to flaunt. When nobody's looking, Demencia will stroll toward his target with a smile, wearing a casual t-shirt and shorts. Hardly the most intimidating outfit for a hardened criminal, but you don't need to look scary.
Dude built like SpongeBob, bro. What's that box? But like a box, go to the top to the top.
When you have the devil's breath on your side. It's a fine, white powder similar to cocaine in appearance, but its effects are an order of magnitude more potent. Demencia taps his mark on the shoulder, and when the yuppie turns to him, Demencia raises his hand, a scoop of devil's breath nestled in his palm.
Now that's some hot breath right there. You would not want to get anywhere near that breath. It'll kill you. It'll actually kill you. Like, no joke.
And blows it into the victim's face. By this point, it's already over. In Demencia's own words from the aforementioned Vice documentary, with just that flash, the person is totally drugged. You wait a minute, and when you see it kick in, then you know that you own that person. You can guide them wherever you want. It's like they're a child. As for Demencia, this robbery truly is like taking candy from a baby. He tells the drugged businessman to get up and follow him, and the businessman does exactly as he's told without a single complaint. The two of them take an evening stroll to a local ATM, and the businessman happily empties his entire bank account for Demencia. After all, people high on the devil's.
No, that is a scary drug because you can tell them to give you all your money and like wipe your house clean, and then you say, "What happened?" And then there's nothing you can do about it because you're drugged. You're like in a trance.
breath aren't exactly famous for saying no. By the time the transaction is over, Dementia has made the kind of score your average American stick-up man can only dream of, and he did it without even carrying a weapon. A lot of stories about Devil's Breath, also known by its scientific name scopolamine and hyoscine, play out exactly like this, whether they're true or
Devil's breath, scopolamine, and hyoscine. I don't know what that is, but it sounds very dangerous, and I would not want to get anywhere near. I would not even want to get it in my hands. I wouldn't want to spray it in the things like the.
scary urban legends. They often follow the template of a manipulative criminal using the drug to make someone do something they wouldn't normally consent to. Because the drug is synthesized from a number of plants, including a type of nightshade common in the upper region of South America, it's become a favorite among shady characters in the Colombian underworld.
So it's basically from Uganda or somewhere from them countries. I don't know, Alaska.
Famous and often repeated example is a man meeting a beautiful woman in a club one evening and deciding to take her home to his Bogota apartment. However, when he woke up the next morning, he found that the woman was gone and his apartment was totally empty. Furious, he went downstairs to ask the doorman what happened. The doorman told him that a van had pulled up in front of the building in the middle of the night, and he and the woman had loaded all his possessions into the van. He asked the doorman why he didn't.
Now that is some scary shit right there, because once it kicks in, bro, you're basically homeless. That's why you gotta say no, I guess. I mean, you can't say no because you would already be instantly in a trance, so.
Say something, and the doorman said that he had. The man said it was just fine, and he knew what he was doing. He would later find that the Devil's Breath had been slipped into his drink back at the bar. He'd entered a state so suggestible that he was willing to be an accomplice in a wholesale burglary of his own apartment. And sadly, robbery is not the full extent of the drug's use in criminal context. There have been a disturbingly large number of reports of the Devil's Breath being used to facilitate forced consent in sexual assaults, in place of the perennial drug Rohypnol, commonly known.
Scary 5 times. I said it like 10 times already, but it's still scary. So scary. It's all I could basically react is just that word. I don't know. If I ever seen someone tap me on the shoulder, like, I would just get out. I would run.
Known as roofies. Some incredibly sensational reports have even claimed that scopolamine is being used to incapacitate victims for organ harvesting operations. Though to be honest, that last one is most likely about as true as the hook-handed man on Lover's Lane or the killer hiding in the back seat. The same goes for stories of criminals somehow soaking the drug into business cards and passing them to unwilling victims. As scary as the thought would be, or just the thought of having to talk to a stranger for long enough to get their business card, it's unlikely that there's any truth to it. There just isn't much of a.
Because you would never know if they put it on your card or your PIN. If they put it on your food, you would not know until you inhale it.
Pharmacological basis for dangerous quantities of the compound being soaked into the skin through those means. But of course, the truth has never gotten in the way of a good horror story. It's a global tradition to move between eras of drug hysteria every few years, with one fashionable drug at a time typically being labeled the world's scariest drug. Typically, these drugs are connected to a huge number of horror stories and given supposed effects that sound like something out of a scary movie. In the 1980s and 1990s, people across the US were terrified that PCP.
They was terrified in 1990. They was terrified of it. I would be too, because that's not something you would want to get on your shoe, you know. Because if you want to tie it, it will knock you out.
Or angel dust was turning drug addicts into unstoppable, superpowered killing machines. A few decades later, after the high-profile cannibalistic attack of Rudy Eugene, the so-called Miami Zombie, on Ronald Papo, people were calling bath salts the zombie drug, despite the fact that Eugene was never actually shown to have the drug in his system during the incident.
That's true. Bath salts was called the zombie drug because I seen a video on YouTube one time. A man was on it, and then bro, he was like eating. He was basically a zombie, bro.
A wide variety of other drugs have been given the same treatment, from Flakka to Crocodile, and the Devil's Breath is no exception. However, even if some of the tales of Devil's Breath terror are exaggerated, the product of tall tales told by drug dealers getting high off their own supply, scopolamine is still a genuinely dangerous drug when abused. In 2015, the U.S.'s Overseas Security Advisory Council gave an unofficial estimate that there are 50,000 scopolamine-related incidents in South America every year. Naturally,
Dang, bruh, 50,000 people get mind controlled. I don't know whoever made this drug. I don't know if a scientist made it on accident or on purpose. I don't know.
this has put the fear into potential vacationers considering a Colombian getaway, and likely caused a few sleepless nights for members of the Bogota tourist board as a result. Scopolamine can have incredibly toxic effects on the body in high enough doses. Many scientists believe that scopolamine depresses the central nervous system and
Scopolamine, hallucinations, severe drowsiness, dry mouth, cardiac arrhythmia, amnesia.
can lead to a bevy of side effects, from hallucinations to severe drowsiness to dry mouth, cardiac arrhythmia, and amnesia. If you overdose on the stuff and can't find treatment in time, it's extremely likely you won't live to see tomorrow. And when the elderly are given the drug, it massively increases the risk of dementia. So even if it doesn't turn you into a zombie on the spot, the drug can rob you of your mind and cognitive faculties in even more terrifying ways in the long.
I would not want to be robbed in my mind, bro. That would be so scary. Imagine like faking it and then you like said, "Oh, yes, master," and then they take you and say, "Give me your guard," and then you just take a knife and stab them.
Long run, you'd much rather deal with Dementia Black, the Colombian drug dealer, than the kind of degenerative dementia that turns your life into a living hell over time. However, there is another side to scopolamine that'll probably surprise you, namely the fact that it has a wide variety of medicinal uses even today. Despite mainly coming into fashion as the scary South American mind control drug in the last 2 decades, scopolamine actually has a long and storied history. Early unrefined forms of scopolamine in Hyoscine have been used by various cultures for thousands of years.
Cultures. Look at them people, bro. Cavemen. It's cool how people make clothes though. Like, imagine wearing made clothes to school, like made out of straw. Adam and Eve, bro. You know.
For example, the Aboriginal people of Australia, the oldest continuous culture on Earth today, have long used similar chemicals from the soft corkwood tree in bush medicine. And because of the powerful psychoactive properties of hyoscine, it also has been used for spiritual purposes across the globe for thousands of years, including states of ritualistic religious hallucination in users. It entered popular Western medical use in the late 1800s, pioneered first by German scientist Albert Leidenberg, and later suggested as a medical.
I don't understand why it's a spiritual drug. I don't even know why drugs are spiritual anyway. Like, if you take any medicine, like, no medicine is good. Like, I hate taking medicine, but I gotta take it anyway.
Anesthetic by surgeon Dr. Schneiderlin. Because of its wide array of effects, the drug was tried out for various purposes throughout the 19th and 20th centuries. It came into use as a popular anesthetic for childbirth, an antidote to gastrointestinal spasms, and an effective treatment for post-operative nausea and vomiting. That last one is actually still one of its most common uses today. Scopolamine and similar chemical compounds have been used to stave off nausea for over a century now, from tribal chiefs to the Allies in World War II storming the beaches of Normandy.
Bro, what's on that dude's face? Did he throw up on his face? What happened, bro? Is he turning into an Incredible Hulk? Oh, it's that scopolamine drug, I guess.
These chemicals have proven to be the most effective in staving off seasickness, but it just isn't the sea that a small dose of scopolamine can make a world of difference in. Most scientists agree that scopolamine is the gold standard when it comes to preventing all kinds of motion sickness, and wearing a small prescription scopolamine patch can make your travels far smoother than they've ever been before. But hey, this video was called the world's scariest drug, not the drug that'll stop you getting seasick. Are there other frightening uses of scopolamine? The answer to that question is absolutely. It goes.
So, is there any other drug scarier than the devil's breath? There may not be.
Without saying that Colombian drug cartels are unsavory people, vicious, ruthless outlaws who will do anything to turn a profit. And if that involves peddling and using drugs like scopolamine, so be it. But imagine if the drug's scary, mind-bending properties were used by a violent gang in full cooperation with his country's government. This exact situation played out during the mid to late 20th century in the Czech Republic, thanks to an extremely frightening group called State Security, colloquially referred to as the Czech Secret Police. Much like
CTEC, State Security, ruthless, oppressive. So is them the people that actually like give you the drug? Undercover? I don't know, Men in Black? What?
The East German Stasi. This group was a ruthless, repressive arm of the Soviet puppet state. They would spy, intimidate, torture, and murder to keep their masters in power. And like a lot of thugs working for repressive government regimes, a big part of their job was forcing confessions out of the perceived enemies of the state. And like a cheesy Bond villain, you better believe these guys had ways of making you talk. Of course, while state security were more than happy to grab the rubber batons and bolt cutters for some good old-fashioned torture, they also liked to mix it up a little. In the early 1900s,
Who is this dude? Abraham Lincoln's son, bro? Look at how tall he is, bro. Slender man looking ass. Bro, like, dude, get out of here with your freaking baggy eyes and chin nose, whatever.
Scene had often been used as a kind of truth serum, but it was soon discontinued due to some of the unpleasant side effects we've already discussed. But state security weren't all that into human rights for their prisoners, so they had no problems with using a little of the devil's breath on their political prisoners to make them more open to suggestion. It's extremely likely that the answers produced by this method of questioning were unreliable to incoherent. But again, it's not like they really cared either way. As long as they got somebody, they were happy. And that's the story of the devil's breath.
And that's the story of the devil's breath, the world's scariest drug. You would not want to get any of it. You would not want to. Imagine mind controlling someone but without the drug, because
A semi-legendary drug favored by eccentric Colombian robbers, sufferers of motion sickness, and shadowy agents of the Czech secret police. Is it the scariest drug in the world? We'll leave that up for you to decide, given that much of its most terrifying stories exist somewhere in the murky space between fact and fiction. But either way, if Dementia Black is walking toward us with a handful of powder, we'll...
Anyway, that was a video. The devil's breath, world's scariest drug. I hope y'all enjoyed. Like and subscribe.